Hello. In this video, we're going to discuss active listening and note-taking skills. Active listening involves these three elements: the removal of all distractions, meaning you're not trying to multitask, text, use your phone while you're listening, paying attention to signs and sounds, meaning that you're very engaged in what's going on, and also providing feedback that you understand. If you're talking to someone face to face, you could nod your head, you could say, or something along the lines, or ask a question, or at least validate their statement to give them the understanding that you are actually understanding what's being said. For active listening, we'll use the LISTEN method acronym, which is lead, ideals, signals, take your time, effective listening, and notes. Lead. Lead means involves being prepared for your lecture. So that means making sure that you've already previewed the materials, you've read chapters prior to participating in classes or participating in lectures. You've even, after doing pre-reading, developed some questions based on your reading, and you're able to anticipate what's coming up in some upcoming topics. It's always best to do pre-reading because when you enter a lecture, you don't want for this to be the first time that you're hearing this material. So pre-reading helps you build your comprehension of the course material. Ideals. Making sure that you understand what the central concepts are that are being presented during the lecture. Typically, there are only 2 or 3 main ideals that will be presented. So it's important that you can identify and draw those out of the lecture. As you're taking notes, make sure that you're focusing on what's important and not trying to write down everything. Signals. Concepts that are written on the board. You even in this online environment, your instructors may use the whiteboards to write down concepts, or if it's a PowerPoint presentation, pay attention to the terms and the information that's being put out on slides. Those are very important. Those are your signals of what's important about the lecture. Pay attention to body language. If it's in person presentation or lecture, if it's a video lecture, or if it's a video that you're watching, pay attention to the presenter's body language and their speech patterns. As their voice goes up, if they're talking more excited, if their hands are moving, more than likely they're passionate about what they're saying, and that conveys to you that this is something they want to make sure that the information that you're able to, the information that they want you to understand. So pay attention to those types of things. Time. Use your time wisely. Again, don't write down everything. It's not important to write down verbatim, word for word, everything that's said. You should use keywords that you can go back and review later to fill in gaps if it's necessary, if there are gaps in your notes. But it's very important to try to write down questions if you are confused during the lecture or while watching a video, because those you can go back and refer to those questions and ask for clarification from either your instructor during their office hours. You can ask your tutor, or you can also refer back to your textbook to see if there was something that you missed in your reading. Effective listening. Active listening, again, means staying focused, making sure that you ask questions and write down questions about things that you may have missed or not completely understood during the lecture. And also look at the way that the material is being presented to you. Maybe if you can relate it to something else, it might help you be able to interpret it. And make sure that if you're in your at-home classroom setting, something that you set up, make sure it's a distraction-free space. So you're not being distracted by somebody else in the house listening to music or watching TV, or if it's your roommate. So make sure that, if all possible, that you try to set up your environment to be distraction-free to boost your effective listening. Notes. Um, if you're taking notes, which we hope you always are taking notes, find a method that fits you and fits the course. A note taking method that you may use for political science or Com 1010 might not be the same one that you use for Math 993 or Math 1000. So make sure that you're using a method that best fits the course. You can use color pens, highlighting, coding. I typically put a star next to something that's testable. Sometimes the instructor will even say, hey, this is going to be on the test. So in your notes, you should have some type of indication or coding or highlighting or color coding system that helps you emphasize that information. As you're reviewing your notes, or as you're writing your notes, make sure that you leave space. So if there's information that you missed, as you go back and review your notes, which you always should do as soon after the lecture as possible, you can fill in gaps if there's something that you missed, or if it's something that you had a better understanding of, or a question that you have, you can put that in that gap area. Definitely always evaluate your note taking methods to make sure that it's the most effective for both you and that course, and evaluate if you need to improve on your methods. So, after your first exam, if your notes weren't that helpful to prep you for the exam, then maybe you need to evaluate and change your methods. The benefits of effective note taking. One, it improves your focus and attention to details. Definitely, because you can go right back to your notes and pinpoint what day a discussion happened, what day this lecture was, what the topic was. So it does help you with that. It definitely promotes active learning because you're engaged in the process, you're manipulating the process through writing. And that also, number three, boosts your comprehension and your retention, because what you write, if you write something, you're more likely to remember what you've written than just what you've heard. So, being able to actively engage the material through note taking definitely boosts your comprehension and retention. It helps you prioritize, because you're as you're listening to the lecture and trying to decipher what's most important, what are the main ideals, you're prioritizing one set of information over another. It boosts your attention span because you have to pay attention to figure out what's more important in this lecture than other pieces of material. It helps with your organization skills. If you're taking good notes, you have those notes dated, you have the topic at the top, so you're able to go right back to that material when you need to. So if you know you need to study something about the three branches of government in your PS 1010 class, then you can go right to that page, because that's hopefully in one notebook that you're using for that one class. So you can go right back to that notebook and know, well, on Monday, September 13th, that was the conversation that we were having. So I know that I can look for the three branches of government on that date. Also, it improves your creativity because some people, the way they manipulate the material, they may draw mind maps, they may draw graphs, they may draw pictures, whatever helps you digest that material and retain that material. That's the method that you should use. In the you'll watch a video that's posted in Canvas that will talk about the five note-taking methods: the outline method, Cornell method, mind mapping method, flow method, and the write on the slides method. So you'll get an opportunity to utilize the Cornell method during this module, evaluate your current method, and find maybe even a hybrid, a mixed method of these mixture of these methods, so you can determine what the best note-taking methods are for you. Thank you. Enjoy the video.